Good morning to you. I'm Fox 5 Storm Team Meteorologist Joanne Feldman, as I and Fox 5 Storm Team Meteorologist Alex Forbes are tracking the latest here on Hurricane Helene and what it's doing across North Georgia. So our first and most immediate concern here is how the rain has been totaling it up, and all of the green boxes you see flashing on the screen here are current flash flood warnings. You can see why. These totals just encompass the last 12 hours, and we're going on several inches of rain, sort of a ribbon of that happening from Upson County, coming up right between Pike and Lamar counties, right inside the perimeter, and extending into North Fulton County. And naturally, of course, the rain is still falling, so we're going to be adding substantial rain on top of that, making existing flood issues worse and creating new areas of flooding. So what is the latest that we know on this? Well, of course, Helene came on shore a little before midnight as a Category 4 hurricane. Once it made landfall, it has been in the process of weakening, but it's still classified as a Category 1 at this point, raking across southeast Georgia and swinging these rain bands in our direction from the south and east and rotating back to the north and west. So just sort of a closer view of where we have some of the heaviest tropical downpours occurring now, obviously scattered through the north metro. Pick it up again in Henry County, moving down to near Griffin. Any little break you get in between there is going to be filled right back in. So any little lulls that you might get in the rainfall, they don't last. You need to be staying indoors here throughout the next several hours as the rain does continue to total up and the winds increase, because currently, at least here in North Georgia, the winds have not been problematic yet. But as the center of circulation is starting to lift farther inland here, and we see some of the heaviest rain bands associated with Helene start rotating in our direction, that's when the winds are going to become more problematic, and I would expect we start getting more numerous reports of trees down. So what we'll be monitoring here throughout the morning, the wind gusts as we're seeing them now, the highest are going to be situated out to the east. Latest is a 33-mile-per-hour gust in Athens, 30 in Eatonton. These will be increasing with time, especially near and east of Atlanta here on the short term. And this is obviously resulting in quite a few power outages across the state and down into Florida. Now, you can tell based on this map alone where the center of this storm has moved onshore, because that's where the power outages are estimated at either like 99 or 100% of customers right through the Valdosta area up to Waycross. We will see, unfortunately, these brighter colors representing the higher percentage of power outages starting to increase across North Georgia between now and sunrise. And so that's something that we'll be watching for you very closely. Now, I talked about the flood risk, of course, some of the areas that are the current big trouble spots here. North Fork of the Peachtree Creek at Buford Highway, moderate flooding happening there. We're still at the moderate level for the South Fork of Peachtree Creek at Johnson Road. Peachtree Creek at US 41 Atlanta, major flooding, and most recently, since our last update for Nancy Creek at Rickenbacker Drive, they are advising that all residents in that area evacuate because of the rising water. And again, this is something that we are probably or likely to see playing out in more areas as time advances here. Let me give you the latest information on Helene coming in from the National Hurricane Center. We talked a lot about that fast motion and how that just wasn't going to give it the opportunity to lose the higher wind speeds before it arrived in North Georgia. The current position is starting to pull it here a little more to the north and a little more to the northwest with time. Near and after sunrise, this is passing over Atlanta as a tropical storm and then steering back to the north and west. But we do want to get some updates here on the flooding that is ongoing now. We're going to check in with Good Day's Lindsay Tuman. She is at Peachtree Park Apartments in Buckhead with the latest there. Lindsay, what can you tell us?
Hey, good morning to you, Joanne. And we are seeing active water rescues happening right now, and they have been for the last several hours. Let me go ahead and step out of the way so you can see what firefighters are out here working on. They actually have a couple of boats going into these relatively deep flood waters by these apartments to rescue folks, get them out with their animals, their children, and whatever belongings they could pack in small bags to get out now. So we've seen quite a few people people already be pulled out of their apartments. We've talked to some of them who say they woke up, felt 2 feet of water immediately, knew they had to get out, had these floodwaters pressing against their doors. It's been very traumatic for them, of course, but they're very thankful to have help to get them out. And we're going to be out here all morning covering this as fire crews perform these water rescues and get folks out. And they do expect these floodwaters to get even higher, so they'll be doing this for quite some time. But for now, that's the latest live here in Buckhead. I'm Lindsay Tuman. Joanne, back to you.
All right, Lindsay, we certainly appreciate it. And as we're going forward here, let me give you just a brief timeline on how things should play out for the early morning hours here as we watch the center of Helene start to lift over North Georgia. The rain bands will increase, the winds will increase, but that is about 10 to 11 o'clock this morning. The rain should be lifting out for the most part out of North Georgia. So the rain is going to be decreasing, the wind will decrease, but it is still going to be breezy into the afternoon to follow this, and we'll have to monitor those wind speeds because naturally there's going to be a lot of cleanup that has to happen and trying to restore power to a lot of people. We need the winds to be even lighter. But there's just a brief breakdown of this Friday forecast. We're going to be watching mid to late morning for those tropical impacts, and we'll have a lot more in our